How's it? Welcome
How's
to
it?
welcome to Mongoose Max Hawaii. This is the first time I think I'm successfully it's recording and the microphone's on underneath this towel because of the wind. And we're doing Spook 101, which is like anything paranormal. We're just throwing it in buckets of Spook 101, which if you're familiar with my channel, there's a few different playlists, and this is now another one. So if I do other stuff,
He does. He does
It-
other stuff,
I mean paranormal,
other paranormal
it will
stuff.
be in this bucket. And so let's get going.
Okay.
This is my sister, one of, not the only one, and her name is,
Diane.
I just wanted to make sure it was okay.
Yeah.
You
No,
guys,
it's okay.
it's okay. Just first name.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay.
Just because we're in a good conversation.
There's more sisters.
Okay. So since Diane is visiting and she's got background, and I just figure that we'll just kind of do like friendly interview or about what we believe we're kind of being watchdogged,
We're always being watched.
where we're not supposed to say wrong things,
No.
or I'm gonna try to make
Incriminating.
watch out! They're talking about you know who. Well, I'm gonna try to. We got two dogs. Oh, and I wanted to feature this shirt here.
Yes. Bigfoot. Because I'm from Northwest.
Diane gave me this shirt,
I did.
and I left my
It's
sister.
special.
The other sisters too, in case they're watchdogging. Yeah. So basically, we're trying to be technical at the moment, and there's many moving parts. Two of them are dogs, and we're kind of just gonna go into the paranormal. We did this before for about 40 minutes, and we were on a roll, and it was gonna be up there, and we got called to dinner. Not that dinner, but we got called to dinner, and found out there's no audio.
And it was the best part.
So you missed out on 39 minutes of really cool stuff that we're gonna try to get to again.
I'm going to try to remember.
Except now we're a little more relaxed. We don't have to wait for photobomb and interruptions. We're sort of in the backyard, and we have a tent over our head, so that's what the sound is. This pole. It's overcast, and we have it's dusk. The sun has set, and it's still light out, and everyone just all of a sudden seems to feel the need to play in the yard. But yeah, so stuff like that is actual live animals. So I'm trying not to replicate the foot leg went to sleep sitting in this chair wrong before, and my whole leg was dead. Which is it good for this
Subject.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Let's see. We started.
first, okay, that's enough introduction. I would have had the other guy to, bang on his head, but this is live. I don't have to sync, I don't think. So, my backup audio.
What do I do with it?
Just yeah. Here, we'll try not to bump the table, because every bump on that table. See this?
Oh.
We're just gonna press record
Oh, okay.
in case there's.
Well, that's important.
I don't know why it should be there. Should be
Oh.
ticking away.
Okay.
So in case there's like a major mess up and we actually wind up saying something cool, there's
We have backup. Backup's always important.
an editing thing I can do maybe. So, Diane, do you remember what we went over? The show completely rests on your shoulders.
Well, we started. I have had a very tough last 10 years, actually. I went through.
But wait, we don't want to get into all that. That's just boring. We don't want to hear your problems. No, I'm sorry.
Okay. Well, anyway, I survived cancer twice, and the first time I was in a pretty bad way during chemo, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and because you're always waking up anyway, and I had a shadow that went through the bedroom, and it was a shadow of a man, and I still remember it as clear as it was yesterday, and it was a shadow of a man with a hat on, walking through my bedroom and around to the side of the bed and looking at me. And after that had happened, I ended up being hospitalized. So I'm not sure if it was a sign, a signal, someone coming down to, what was it? The Grim Reaper? Was I going to die? Who was this shadowed man?
You're actually questioning that thought? Like, is this the Grim Reaper? Like, I get 3 counts, like on the third visit, I'm out of here or something?
Yes, because I was in a pretty bad way. I thought I was doing fine, but I was.
What was the chemotherapy? I was like, trying to pump the table.
The chemo. Well, I had the 3 types. I had 3 different types.
Like in the sense of, at that time, where were you at in the treatment?
I was just finishing. I finished my chemotherapy.
It's all done.
It's done. I even had a happy face balloon because I was finished with my chemotherapy. So anyway, that happened during the night, and it was just so clear, and I remember it so clearly. And then I had an episode where I passed out, totally had to go to the hospital, and was an emergency, and I was out cold for 3 days because of no electrolytes. So it was a struggle, and I still remember the incident of the shadowed man very clearly. And when I talked to my doctor said that, you can get down to a certain level. Your body can completely go down to a certain level that they can bring you back up with the treatments. Obviously, I still had a port in, so they were, they had me plugged into everything to try to get fluids back in because of no electrolytes, which is a very bad thing to have. And
so the no electrolytes was the emergency part.
Right. And so anyway, they ended up bringing me back, and my doctor told me that if it would have gone any further, I would have died. So it just worked out that, I had this visit from the shadowed man, and then my daughter and my husband found me and got me to the emergency room. And I missed 3 days of life. I don't remember anything at all. And I almost died. They brought me back.
So that's for real near death.
Near death, yeah.
Okay, not like in chemotherapy, they try to kill all the cells, so they put you through that horrible treatment stuff, which brings you to the brink of nearly, yeah?
I guess different bodies handle things different ways. So some people don't make it through chemotherapy. Some people do die from the side effects of chemotherapy. I was lucky enough, I don't know if lucky, but I was fortunate enough that I did not go past that level of no return, and they were able to bring me back. And so that's what happened to me. So that was one of the incidences that I'll never forget, that shadowed man. I don't know. I'm not really clear on why he showed up. Did it show up to bring me back to a level of where my daughter and my husband found me and got me to the emergency room on time? I don't know. But something happened and I was brought back.
Well, I love you, Diane. I didn't know it was. I'm glad you didn't die.
I didn't die. I'm still
Okay.
here.
And I am not saying I doubt you with questions, right? I'm saying, like, let's get to what you remember with questions. Yeah.
Yes.
So you were sleeping?
Yeah, you don't sleep very well and you don't sleep very long. You're usually, uh, well, for me, it's like you're waking up a lot because you're kind of in a bad way medically. And my daughter used to record these shows for me so I could binge watch them and have them on just 24/7 all night long,
TV.
so that I had something when I woke up. There was something there. I don't, but when I had saw the shadow and that experience, I don't really remember the TV for at that point, but that could have been part of my medical condition also.
I'm confused.
I could have been fading fast, where I really didn't know where I was and what was happening.
Oh, like near death experience. I've
Yeah.
heard of this stuff where, especially atheists, if you don't believe in God, and I'm not putting people down if they don't believe in God. I mean, basically, it's your choice. It's a choice factor. I think faith is a lot of a choice. And so, but people who don't believe in God, like atheists, and they'll say, "Oh, how do you explain near-death experience and the light at the end of the tunnel?" And they'll say, "Well, that's what the brain or the mind, the consciousness sees as the brain is dying of oxygen depletion."
Mm-hmm.
It's like it just goes like the television set, that's the whole thing. The television,
Mhm.
the old black and white TVs. And so the light at the end of the tunnel might be your last feelings. You'd be
Mhm.
thinking of loved ones. So you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you're getting smaller and smaller and you're greeted by loved ones. And then, but it's basically your brain dying and there's nothing at the other side.
Mhm. I know.
That's one criticism of near-death experiences. I don't know what I'm trying to put a case for afterlife, like try to be pro afterlife because it's tough enough to believe in the first place is my kind of base. You can say you believe, but it's hard to actually believe. It's like actually it takes a lot of work because if you have a mind that does the rational stuff, it contradicts faith stuff where you believe without proof. That's faith.
True. That's true. And because of my experience with fighting cancer and almost dying, um, it gave me a different outlook on people. And I went through a period of time where, as I was getting better, because it takes a while to get better and heal from going through the therapies for cancer, I remember looking at people and going, oh, I was like not seeing dead people. I don't want to say like the movie, I was seeing dead people.
You didn't see
But
dead people?
I would look at people and go, oh my gosh,
I
that
see
person's
live
going to
people.
die. There's
What?
the older people. I would see older people as I was dealing just with daily things.
This is new to me. Are you saying what you're saying?
Yes.
So instead of saying dead people like the movie, I see living people. But
Yeah.
you see living people that are
They're all going to die because we're all going to die. That is
Oh,
a
that's like
fact.
philosophy. I thought you had some
Yes.
special powers. Like,
Uh,
you got till next week.
no. Well,
That's here comes Thursday.
I'll tell you,
Next Thursday, though.
going in for checkups in an oncology clinic is like you are seeing people in different stages, and you know some people are not going to. They're just not going to make it. They're too far along in their stages or whatever, and so it's like you're seeing them going, wow, those people, that person's going to die, and
There's a weirdly weird thing going on with ward, and everyone has the same disease or condition. Like, even in alcoholism, everyone's an alcoholic. So you're seeing other people in different stages or coming from different
back.
venues, but you think, well, I'm not an alcoholic. And you see other people's like, man, they're pretty messed up. Wait a minute, I missed. And it's like kind of a realization, you're one of this group. And then the oncology,
Oncology.
like the Egyptian, oncology. The oncology, because it's cancer ward. So there's definitely terminal patients.
Yes. And actually, there were
and they have to come to grips with, like, hospice. Like, they're there to go all the way out.
Right. And there's another side of that where, it happened to me. I had a friend of mine that actually worked in my office with me who was also going through cancer treatment at about the same time that I was. And so every once in a while we'd run into each other at the appointments. And she did die. She died. And I remember sitting in there and waiting for our doctor's appointments and talking.
I'm sorry that your friend died. If you bump the table, the mic is like.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm handsy.
Headphones on you for a little bit.
Okay.
So your friend.
Yeah. So it was a friend that I worked with.
Did she look bad off?
That we'd sit and talk and be at the appointments waiting to see our doctors. We didn't have the same doctor, but she did end up dying. They tried to do everything to help her, but her stage of cancer was too far along. So
like, there's nothing they could do.
There wasn't anything except for her to get ready to die. And
like that preparation, that's
so creepy. That carries on, because every time I go for my checkups, because they have you scheduled like for every 3 months, every 3 months, every 3 months. And then as you are getting better, then they'll extend it to every 6 months. But every time I go into the doctor for my checkups, I'm always thinking, oh my gosh, who's not going to be here this time? Who died in between? How come this is happening? It's really an experience that is difficult to deal with. And what I didn't realize at the time, I was dealing with it and I kept myself busy. I like to work, so I'm one of those kind of strange people that like to work. But at what I discovered,
instead of a human being, you're a human doing.
I do, and I keep really busy, but it's really scary because every time I go in, because I ended up actually getting diagnosed for a second time 10 years later with cancer and having to go through the same treatment again, losing my hair again, and being hospitalized.
Did you feel sick? Did it
no. I went in for the yearly mammogram, and they caught something, and had to do and then an in-depth, you go in for in-depth testing, and it was actually below a stage 1, because now they have 8 different stages, but the same method of treatment. The treatment has not changed in 10 years, which really surprised me. I was actually angry because I was following every rule in the book to stay healthy and cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I was trying to, I didn't want cancer again. I mean, what a horrible experience I went through, and I felt very fortunate that I was alive.
Do you think it was good you when discovered with the checkup that it was stage 1? Are you a little bit like, well, thank God I found it at stage 1?
Yes, it was mixed emotions. I was going, how come this happened? I'm seeing you guys all the time. But okay, so maybe my work is too stressful, and maybe it was stress. Who knows? Who knows? And I
I've
obviously,
heard stress kills,
yeah,
like psychosomatic
definitely, yes.
in all different ways.
So so it was pretty scary when I got diagnosed the second time, and then I found out that it was the same treatment that I went through 10 years earlier, as far as the chemotherapy and the radiation.
So what,
Of course, first they check to see if they can do the surgery to remove the tumor. And if they can remove the tumor with clear margins and no infiltration into your sentinel lymph nodes, you're in good shape. But you really don't know until you're under the knife and they go in. So that's when you're going to find out if you're going to end up with mastectomies or whatever. But I was lucky, and I ended up with what they call lumpectomies, which I had the clear margins, even with number one time. So number one time was one side, number two time was the other side, and I ended up with clear margins. So I ended up with just having to have the lumpectomy, and then the chemotherapy, and then the radiation following.
This is being lymphatic system?
Because that's how it travels from breast cancer and travels to the rest of your body.
Lymphatic.
It kills through your lymph nodes.
Oh, that's how it gets, what do they call it?
Systemic. Yeah, and if it goes systemic, you're in pretty bad shape. But of course, I was a low stage anyway. So, if you're at a higher stage, a lot of women elect to just, and men, because men can have it too, can elect to have full mastectomies and go that direction. And then you can be rebuilt, so to speak.
I guess I could say you recommend getting those checkups, even though you don't want to. I
tell everybody, I go in and do the checkups, do a buddy check, find somebody, do a buddy check. But yeah, if you early detection, do self checks. If you feel something funny,
how to do it right.
Yeah. If you feel something funny that's like unusual,
like a bump, it's like, what the heck is that?
Yeah, and it's really hard to. Well, the second time it was so teeny and tiny and small. I didn't detect anything.
I mean, the doctor could tell.
Yeah, it was detected through the mammogram itself. So yes, I am a proponent of having everyone do their buddy checks or mammograms every year.
It's a uplifting 25 minute.
I know. I'm so sorry. But guess what? But I lived through it.
You get your systems checked, and you want to catch them
early.
You catch it early
because you can survive.
If it happens, God willing, it don't. But if it does, you don't want to be waiting around going, I don't want to take the test. And it's like, I'm sorry, it's systemic. We could cut off your head.
Well,
it's in your head now.
Right. And cancer's cancer's an insidious little nasty little cell that can creep out.
It just means it keeps on keeps on reproducing itself. It keeps on dividing and making more cells like at a unnatural rate. Yeah.
Yes.
It just doesn't stop. Like a regular cell might go, okay, it's time to divide and make two. Like, you lose skin or fingernails, or you get a cut and it grows over. Okay, make a couple more cells to replace those others. And then they tell you the fun fact: every 7 years, every cell in your body is brand spanking new. So in every 7 years, all your cells have been replaced.
Well, they do tell you that, yeah. And
so,
things
I don't know. I look the same, and I get wrinkles.
Yeah, I have more wrinkles, and so I don't know what's going on.
What's wrong with this? But the cancer cells are the ones, they just go haywire, and they just like
right,
like unlimited popcorn.
Well, if a lot of people are frightened, they're frightened, and maybe they don't finish the chemotherapy. There's actually patients that will drop out, or they won't go on and finish and do the second part, the radiation. It's actually the third part. Surgery is one, then the chemo, and then the radiation. And
So
then
if they cut it out, there's nothing on the edges, you're pretty much good to go. But it's like,
yeah,
okay,
the cancer's removed. You're cancer free.
the thing is removed and you're cancer free. But then they'll recommend chemo
The chemotherapy,
and
which
the
is
radiation. The radiation always
poison.
first?
No, I had chemo for breast cancer. It was chemo first and then radiation. And, it depends again on the stage you're in. If you're in advanced stages, it's really, what do you do? They just do the mastectomies and cut them off. And, you hope that those cells didn't sneak through and get to your, somewhere else in your body. Apparently, a lot of times it turns into brain tumors. A lot of people get brain tumors. And yeah, there's things that, it's a lot of unknown, but there's a lot of research that's being done now that's promising. Like maybe for my daughters, it might, if they end up with it, it can help them. They did do a gene study on me, which was interesting. And I did have an unusual result that could be it. But, the good news is they are working on this therapy where they'll take the T cells out of your body and they weaponize them and put them back into your body. And
that's the new advanced, cutting edge.
It's almost approved.
Cancer thing of the future is the weaponized T cells that go in there and
they go after
Delta Force on your cancer cells.
Only the cancer cells.
Only the cancer cells. Not no other cells. They go in there like surgical strike. Using military terms. Exactly. They take the T cells and they weaponize them and they put them back in and they go, let's get the cancer cells.
And whereas chemotherapy goes after all your cells. It kills your good cells too. That's why you end up with this.
Don't die from chemotherapy. The man in black comes by with a hat and goes, pick yourself up off the floor. It's time for the hospital. Yeah,
I'll never forget that.
Hand me my water.
So
it's
that's my story.
I'm real glad about. I mean, it's horrific, and I'm sure there's probably someone that relate about getting into the cancer zone. I mean, oh my God. And twice over.
So I'm being saved for something.
My sister, she looks good. She's being saved for something. My show.
Yeah, I was saved to do this and help other people. Yes.
Yeah, we'll put message out there.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to talk to them because it is a scary thing. And the other thing that I learned is you don't.
You want me to put your email in the commentary? It's Diane Christian's. Email her. We don't have a giant audience, but maybe later this might be seen.
Yeah. But the thing that I didn't realize, and now I know very well, is how much it affects the people close to you. It really affects your family members. And, you're so busy being the patient, you forget how much it super affects the family members, and family members fall apart.
Grab your water, please.
Certainly.
It's blocking your face.
Oh. Well, here I am.
We're losing our life.
As you know, I'm still alive. And
now we're doing this.
And I was brought up, of course, Keith's my brother, and we were brought up Catholic. I went to parochial schools all through 8th grade. And
well, we don't think that's a background. Okay, the Catholic thing. Okay, because this is Spook 101.
Okay, so
back to the this is like even chemotherapy is like a near-death experience. It's like induced.
Yes.
In a way. You come kind of close to dying.
Yes.
And then they revive you and hopefully the cancer cells are dead, but the living cells are like, hey, help me.
Yeah,
they back to life. And then you come out and then you're like, next session's Thursday.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, God. It's really horrific. However, so in a sense, it's kind of like induced near-death experience. But yet, however, in your particular case, at that particular time, there was like an incident of low electrolytes, which was dangerous. So you're already
Yes.
weakened. She's already weakened. But then there's like that extra little weakness that could have been fatal.
Right.
So here you are. It's like in the middle of the night or whatever, and you woke up.
Mm-hmm.
Is this
Yes.
what has happened?
Yes.
I mean, you sure you weren't like dreaming? You woke up and you're like looking at your room.
That's what I remember as I
Yeah.
woke up and I was looking at.
So
the
you're
room.
in bed with your eyes open,
Yes.
and so you see this guy, and it's just black.
It's a black shadow. He was a shadow,
It looked
and
like
he
a
walked
shadow.
through the room, and he had
But
a
the
hat
shadow
on.
was like on the wall. How does it like a shadow walk through the air?
Yeah, that's how it appeared to me. And he actually had a hat on, which is unusual. I mean, it's not unusual for
Kind of hat.
men to wear a hat, but this was like a cowboy hat, which is not unusual for the area of where I live, because there's a lot of ranchers, and I know a lot of cowboys and horse people, etc.
Yep.
And
Sure wasn't a dream?
but, yeah, it wasn't.
He's a
And it
cowboy.
wasn't. And it wasn't my husband. He doesn't wear cowboy hats. He
No,
built
I know him, he
houses.
He's not a cowboy hat guy.
He built houses. He didn't do that. So
is this tall?
yeah,
Would you
yeah.
say?
I mean, it was
Skinny or just like regular size?
regular size.
Like regular size person.
Yeah,
Cowboy hat.
yeah.
Anything else?
I just remember the
Was it a
movement,
song? Well, okay,
walking-
tell me about the movement. Was
walking across,
it just a walk?
coming over like to where you are to me,
Uh-huh.
and looking at me.
So it was like close to you.
Yes, and.
Was
The
that-
next thing I remember is my daughter coming into the room and trying to get me off the floor, and then
So
calling my
you
husband.
You were in bed and you were awakened by your daughter on the floor.
That's the next thing I remember is her trying to get me up and get
You fell
me
out of bed.
I was, yeah,
So somebody heard a thump.
yes, and her room was next to we have like 2 master bedrooms in this house, and so I was in one of them because I was pretty sick and getting up a lot during the night, right? So
But never thump. on
yeah,
the
so I
ground.
was in that room by myself
So if you hear a
next to my
thump, you'd be
daughter's.
like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, so she came
So
in.
you falling out of bed was actually the alarm,
Probably.
in a sense.
We could ask her. She's close by. But
Jeez.
yeah, it was pretty scary.
There.
It was pretty scary. Plus, I was bald. So
She's scary bald.
I was scary bald, and
I'm
I didn't want to go
normal
anywhere.
bald. She's scary bald.
And I didn't want to go anywhere without my wig. So anyway,
That's what the cowboy
the
hat
next
was
thing,
for.
yeah,
It was gonna go like
maybe
this.
he
Here's
was
the
going to
thing.
help me. And then the next thing
In your time of
I don't remember.
need, basically. Because like a Ouija board stuff, right? They said we can't do the Catholic thing, and they tell us this in the Catholic thing. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say. In the Catholic thing. Okay, here, let me show you this book because I actually bought. This is Catechism, and this is basically what the church teaches. So if you have any questions, just get one of these books, $10.
Oh, gee.
It's like anything. It's like, oh, what is the Holy Spirit? Just a minute. It is. So if I just crack this open, it says the meaning of Christian death. But well, I'm not supposed to. But
That's
anyhow,
okay.
but one of the point out was this one. It's 2016. I thought I had. I think this might be it here. 2016. Okay. Or yeah, that's what it be. And this is the one that. Oh, gee. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll try to make it so it's not shining. It's in divination and magic, right?
Okay.
Because it kind of bases, like, if you want to understand Judaism and Christianity, especially Roman Catholicism, a ton of it based off of Moses' 10 Commandments. And the first one is, what is the first commandment? Moses.
Thou shalt not kill. No, that wasn't
No,
the
that's
first
like
one.
number 5 or 7 or something. Number one.
God is no, the only. What is number one? I'm
God is the only-
embarrassed.
God-
God is. There's only one God.
Oh my gosh.
God is everywhere.
You caught my sister right in time. I'll
I
send
know.
you back home with this book.
I know. She's. I didn't
The
read.
first commandment is thou shalt not worship any
Oh yeah.
other
Others.
God.
Okay.
Because God is the only God.
I was getting close.
But if you stick up something in front of God and worship that instead, they call it idol.
Right. And that
So
was a
golden
big problem.
calf, if you into the Old Testament, or if you watch too much TV, you're worshiping the idol. Especially if you turn to American Idol.
Yeah. Yes.
But
Yes.
if you put money in front, if you worship money more than God, then you're worshiping money as an idol.
Yes.
It's actually very 21st century.
It is.
And technically, completely, it's hard to get away from. It's like, because this whole what is God thing. But from that, right? If you had a problem, like say with your chemo, right? Were you turning into more prayer?
Interesting enough, I was in. When they brought me when my family brought me to emergency. I was in a hospital that was a Catholic hospital.
Was it the Catholic?
It was a Catholic hospital.
Okay.
And so one of the first things when I started waking up, like I really do not remember 3 days of my life that I was there.
You're missing 3 days.
I'm missing 3 days.
Which is, if it turns into alien abduction and missing time, this will also be featured in Spook 101.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Okay, you're missing 3
I have
days.
more stories. I was missing 3 days.
Was it like coma?
I was just pretty out of it.
You're
they
just
had
like
me
so groggy.
They had me. I was
Your
delirious.
consciousness wasn't connecting.
My body was dying, and they were trying to bring me back. With fluids and such. Electrolytes are really super important part.
So what about the prayer thing? Know what you saying?
So anyway,
getting all
first
technical.
I had a nun came in, and she asked me if I would
Was the guy in the cowboy hat?
And no, I didn't see him again.
That's what the nun did.
The nun came in and
Who's the
said,
other guy?
Would you like us to pray for you? Would you like me to set up a prayer session?" And I'm just going, "Sure, I'll take all the help I can get. Bring them on all in. Let's do this."
Yeah, there's like no other answer to that, really, too.
No, and they did, and so
you have to be really belligerently.
No, don't pray for me. No, I was happy to have them all come in, because I think there is something to the energy, the positive energy of having them come in and do something like that. And so it turned into them coming in twice a day. So I had twice a day. I had a few members, because they're not there 24 hours a day. So I had priests and I had nuns, and they'd come in and they'd pray for me.
Positive energy.
And all positive energy. And I think that's super, super helpful, because you're feeling so horrible, and you don't really, it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to die. You don't want to be in the hospital.
I don't think anyone really wants to die.
No,
normally.
Yet the big question and the big fear is that, yes, we all are going to die.
So
what happens after we die?
After your whole kind of experience, you had a new second sight. When you look at people, you're like going like,
yeah,
we're gonna die.
Yep.
I'm gonna die. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
We're all gonna die. I keep saying that on my channel.
Exactly.
We're all gonna die from the plague.
Yeah. Well, it's no. But,
I do it out of. I think. Well, my thing in the Catholicism has a lot to do with with death comes fear. Okay, because there's a fear factor. You cannot deny that. And with fear, in the Bible, God's always like, "Do not fear." Everyone's like, "Do not fear. Do not be afraid. Do not fear. Do not be afraid." A lot of that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And not to get too demonology here, but We'll get there in a second.
No demons.
That's negative energy versus positive energy.
Yeah.
So, but the devil will use fear. Let's say bad people will use fear to motivate you, to manipulate you,
Hmm.
and all that. And fear will produce psychosomatic illness and all that stuff too.
Hmm.
So the deal is, for me, is like when you look at death, it's like a lot of it's like separating. The devil's going to be hanging around, gonna be messing with you, because there's fear, and when fear's in the air, that's when those come out.
That is,
So when you have nuns praying for you, good deal.
yeah. Oh, definitely. No, really. I was so happy. I was just, yes, let's bring the nurses in. Let's bring everybody in. Everybody can pray for me. I'll take it. I'll take all of it. Any help I can get.
But it made you more like
It,
prayerful.
it made me feel good. It
Well,
made me
did
feel better.
the whole
It made
thing.
me feel more peaceful, and it gave me. I felt more positive. And I think when you're surrounded by, whether it be prayers or people that are more positive and they want the best for you and they want you to get better, that's huge. That's great for your healing, and for eventually going home and living your life. Um, it made me feel, I think, because I did go through it. Well, I did go through it twice. That I, I'm not afraid of dying. I mean, because I know we're all going to die. But yeah, there's always the question: what happens afterwards? Do we go to heaven? That's how I was brought up: is to go. We don't have the faith to go to heaven. Be a good girl, and you will go to heaven.
But you got you got Judaism, and that was a lot of the Old Testament is like when you die, there's a place where dead people go. And if you're right with God, then your life would be right.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not right with God, your life's messed up. And that's where you have the story of Job being all weird because he was a good guy and his life got messed up. It's like a turning point in how rabbis taught the old Judaism. But they didn't have a heaven. They had an earthly prosperity.
Yeah.
And then you get to Christianity, and there's definitely a heaven and hell.
Right.
Because it's like in the book of Matthew and stuff.
Right.
Where the worm never dies and the flame never. There's like, what the heck? And then there's places where they kind of say Sheol, or where the dead go. And in Jerusalem was a walled city. It was a fortified city. So outside the walls is where they put like dead cats and dogs and all the crucified people that the Romans would do every day. And they would put all the carnage of dead bodies and they would light it on fire. So it's like a common pit, and they would just keep it burning. And they throw garbage in there too. So it's like garbage and dead bodies and stuff like that.
Wow.
And that's where they would have a name, Gehenna or something like that. They have a name for that spot. And when people look out and they see that, they're like, ugh. And it became like a tangible hell. Like you go there if you're bad. Yeah. But then there was a definite concept of heaven and hell for Christianity and Muslimism. But with the Muslim faith, I don't want to say too much, but it's a lot of what's in the Old and New Testament. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of plagiarism. I don't know what the word is. But in Islam, there's a definite hell and a definite heaven. In Christianity, there's a definite hell and a definite heaven. Mm-hmm. And there's a afterlife bit. And our modern afterlife concept is more like you're always seeking to be in union with God. And eventually you're in union with God without, your physical body.
Right.
And anything that comes in between that is blocking that thing. That's what. Well, my thing here with the divination and the magic was about the Ouija board, because if you spirits, right, you're not supposed to contact dead spirits, because when you try to contact dead spirits, you're looking for power, or you're looking for help, or most like specifically in this. I'm supposed to pound the table because it does that. When you specifically in this one, they call it divination, which is just fortune in the future, telling what the future is, getting information, whether I'm going to be rich and successful,
Right.
happy love life, this kind of like what's going to happen to me, and I'm consulting the dead for answers. That's the main thing. And the Ouija boards was really about consulting the dead. And but the thing is, you're not talking to dead people. It spoke to me like a little girl.
Ooh.
And it's not the little girl. And that's what
No.
the Catholics, they'll say, definitely, probably, definitely demon. Because that's where devil comes in, takes advantage. Fear, and you're not relying on God's help. You're relying on something else.
Right.
That's why the idolatry factor.
Oh.
So there's the connection. However, for you, since we kind of got this on that, I mean, I'm super glad you made it twice through chemotherapy and you're still alive. And hope that never freaking happens to me or anyone else. But now you know a little bit from an actual survivor. And thank you for sharing that, because maybe, someone might, spread the word, if you don't shy away from detecting things early.
No.
But aside from that, it's as if in a very, very vulnerable moment where these are fragile things and it could have gone wrong. Dog, what are you doing? But it could have gone wrong. Electrolytes were going down, and it could have been, that's it.
I could have went below that level,
and at
where
that
they couldn't
time,
have.
A shadow man walks in with a cowboy hat.
Which is really weird because, like I said, the cowboy hat thing, I'm in an area of ranches, but...
any sound?
Yeah, no, I don't remember any sound.
Was it black as in you can't see through it? Was it the lights on in the room? Was it dim light?
Dim, very dim. And he was a shadow. It was a shadow.
And you weren't scared?
I was not scared. I was not scared.
No sense of fear?
No.
What's that?
Which is interesting because people are afraid to die. It's normal, I guess. It's normal. But I was not afraid.
You know something abnormal about fear of death? Okay. I went to Medjugorje, which is what Yugoslavia used to be. Used to be a Yugoslavia, and now there's not a Yugoslavia. Well, I went to it when it was still Yugoslavia. It was like 1988.
Okay.
In 1990, it was civil war, and it wasn't Yugoslavia anymore.
Okay.
So it was like... But they have in this place called Medjugorje, which is right on the Adriatic Sea. So it's Italy, there's a little Adriatic Sea, and then there's a coast of Yugoslavia. And this place, Medjugorje, was this little town.
Oh.
And for some strange reason, they had this plague of locusts. And then the plague of locusts went away because they're all praying, because they're Catholic. They were like heavily Catholic little like country, super duper, pray the rosary all the time Catholic. And they prayed away a kind of a plague of locust, and it went away. So they made a big giant cement cross on top of a small mountain nearby.
Okay.
And then for another strange reason, which no one can really pinpoint, really, they built a church in the town. It's not a very big town. I would say probably bigger now. But, for a small town of 2,000 people max, not many people.
That's not many people at all.
And they built this church, which was really huge, like a Spanish mission style cathedral. It's big. It's pretty big. And they built this overly big church in this little teeny tiny town. And then I don't know what it was. exactly when it started, but it started way before I got there. These country kids, like 2 guys, 3 girls, and they started seeing the apparition of the Immaculate Conception, the Virgin Mary, Jesus's mom, appeared to them.
The children?
Yeah.
Not Our Lady of Fatima. It wasn't that.
Our Lady of Fatima is 1910, 1918.
This was
1914.
Okay.
It's like
so this
right
was
before
this
World
was
War One.
Okay, so you're up to almost 1990, 1989.
1980s, early 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and so the church here had this little, hey, we're going to tour, because everyone was touring there from different places in Europe. They'd have these little church tours, and you'd go and get cheap tickets, and so we got cheap tickets and went there. I went. Mom didn't. Mom sent me. And so I went, and I'm like in Yugoslavia, like, what the frick? I brought my camera, I got my flashlight.
I'll go.
Where's Jesus's mom? I don't see her.
Keith will go.
I was a little bit, it was like X-Files for me. It's like, I went to believe, but I was just like a doofus. I mean, I had problems in life, and I'm sure that's why Mom's like, Keith will be better. Oh, I gotta edit my name. Mongoose Max will be better if he went there. And so what happens is these people would see the Virgin and talk to her. They'd slam down on their knees. And everyone's like,
yeah.
And asking them, did you touch her? And she's like, yeah. They said stuff like, when you touch her, it's like touching something like steel.
Oh. That didn't sound good.
And there was some reports of when the apparition was over and the Virgin left, it was like in some type of sound. I was paying attention to some of these things, but one of the things that got me the most was their little kid attitudes, right? And these are kids. Whenever they would they had to run there. It's going to happen at 3:00. We got to go to the grotto. And so they're running to the grotto, but they don't have footwear. They don't have their slippers. So they're running on the rocks and the thorns and the bare feet. Ouch, 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 ouch. And they were happy to suffer.
Oh.
Because you're suffering for Jesus, and it's a good thing. And it was like,
pain is good.
Yeah, a little in the right, sort of like in the right context. If you're suffering, and you have your focus on God, it's like, hey, suffering or whatever.
Right.
Not like masochism, no.
Okay.
But when you get to this point, they said that they weren't afraid to die. Not only that they weren't afraid to die, they couldn't wait to die.
Well, no, I can wait to die. I think there's a difference.
I'm talking about these apparition kids, which are now adults, and people scratching it. The church never approved of this yet, so it's not Fatima's approved.
Yeah.
This one isn't technically. Not enough miracles. But though they had reported them as saying like, oh yeah, just because one of them had a brain tumor, and I don't know if one died. I think one of them had a terminal illness and did die. And they were all like talking about it. So they're like, oh, I can't wait to see Our Lady, right? Just, I can't wait to see Our Lady again in heaven. I can't wait to see. So they're like, like when you think about it, heaven and hell. And if you think about heaven, greater than we could possibly think, positive energy wise, more than we could possibly think and imagine. I'm not there. I'm not there with that. They were.
Yeah, because they couldn't wait to die.
They knew. They knew in their mind exactly. I know heaven. I know what this is. I know what that's going to. And it's like, I can't wait.
Yeah.
And the presence of Our Lady was so incomparable to anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, oh boy, I can't wait.
Awesome.
And I'm like, okay. So, whoa, yeah.
Yeah.
But it makes you think,
Uh,
where are we at as just, I mean, there's religion, there's faith, but there's belief. And there's
right.
belief in the afterlife. Because if you believe there's an afterlife, right, there's something there.
Yes.
Okay, can you believe in an afterlife and there's no God?
I can't, because that's not the way
It
I
doesn't
think.
seem to work.
That's not the way I think. No, and I've come to terms with not being afraid to die, because I know that, of course, we're all going to die unless something really miraculously happens in some discovery of immortality that we haven't learned yet.
You've come to peace with it.
Yes, but I've come to peace with it. I don't want to die. I'm not going, I'm not going to say, hey, yeah, can't wait.
Skydiving.
Yeah,
no
no.
Parachute. Who needs a parachute?
No, but
Daredevil stuff.
I'm not afraid, but it also makes me feel that I'm very fortunate that I can live in the moment and enjoy every moment of life I have with my brother, my sisters, my family. I enjoy the moment that we're in now, because I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Maybe I'll get diagnosed again. Maybe I won't. Maybe it will happen earlier.
Maybe you'll be diagnosed without it.
Yeah.
Diagnosis is just like checking it out.
Yeah.
Getting checked out.
And we can't do anything about our past at all, but we can live in our moment right now and be the best that we can be, and be as positive as we can be, and help other people be positive. I did, through my journeys with cancer, run into a lot of family members that were always at the clinics or the hospital where I was, and they are so afraid for their loved ones. I mean, that's when I started going, wow, it affects everyone of their family. The family really gets affected by this. And I don't think there's enough attention on how the family members can handle their loved one going through this type of process where they could die. And it's interesting. Life is very interesting. And so anyway, my advice for myself is to be as positive as I can. And I am spiritual. I don't go to mass every Sunday or anything like that. For some reason, I feel like, because I went to parochial schools through 8th grade, that I went to mass every single day, and I probably went to mass enough for a while. No, but I
fulfilled your quota.
I fulfilled my quota. Oh God.
That's
one of these days we'll talk
about
about confession. When we had to go to confession every Friday, I used to have to try to make up sins to tell the priest. So that, when I was little,
you made up sins?
Yeah. Oh, I hit my little brother 3 times. Oh God. Yeah. Because how bad can you be in 1 week? Oh my gosh. I mean, honestly.
So you made up sins to like for street cred?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a good Catholic girl. Anyway,
she confessed to the most horrible stuff. She's so good, Catholic girl. And
no, I was.
Later
I
on,
was.
She lied. Confession. Gotta go confession for that now.
Well, it was only and then my favorite priest and my favorite nun left the church and got married to each other. Yes. When I think I was in 7th grade for that one.
As a kid.
I know.
What do you do, right?
It's okay. Anyway, you just have to just find it in your heart to do the best you can. Yeah,
Mm.
and be as positive as you can, and help the people you can help, and stay away from negative people. I do very, 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 very much try to stay away from people that are negative and horrible people. I just, if any of clients that I deal with, or any of my associates that I deal with.
Our next video will name names and show pictures.
Yes, I will. I'll do drawings. How's that?
Do drawings.
But stay away from those people. You don't need to be around them. They're
Sure.
Go the other way.
You can do like aura and stuff.
Yeah.
Aura stuff.
So I don't know. I do feel I'm being saved for something. I'm not quite sure what yet.
Sense of purpose. There's the God's will.
There's something I'm supposed to be doing, because you have a purpose.
See, like, I'm not trying to make it like teaching. Well, a little bit like understanding Catholicism, but that's just the framework of Christianity. So if I'm talking about ghosts or bad spirit, good spirit, right, then it's going to be in that framework, because I can't speak of different religion or we can get into spirituality, I guess, but like that.
What do you think?
So for conclusion, I think I'll rename this Shadow Man or something. But what do you think this is when it's going to pull out my mic cord. This is what's going to happen. You're going to twist yourself around with my microphone cord. Come here.
And greyhounds are very, very special animals too. You're supposed to be able
especially intrusive at the moment because there's a lot of wires.
Okay.
So
anyway, you can get a lot of energy from greyhounds. I adopted a retired racing greyhound, and just hugging them.
This one almost unplugged your whole sound right there.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Yeah. So
you can't hear me?
There will be.
I can hear me.
Didn't you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Let's hope this is still going. So anyhow, let's wrap it. So we're on an hour.
We'll talk about
energy,
being positive and energy.
Yeah, and all that crap.
Oh, I got some other good stories too.
Yeah, we got some good stories. But in a nutshell, we basically featured your induced near. Well, actually, it wasn't so much induced, because there was a critical time you could have died, and a shadow man with a cowboy hat walked up, looked you right in the face, and somehow her falling out of bed signaled somebody, and it was like in the nick of time with electrolytes. Does that about sum it up?
That sums it up.
Okay.
That's a quick sum.
That's a quick sum. But your impression, who is the man in the cowboy hat?
I don't know, but I think he helped. And in a good way, because
a spirit who helped.
In a good way.
Well, you help in a bad way?
Nope.
Helped in a good way.
In a good way. It was a good spirit. This was a good spirit.
A shadow man in cowboy hat who helped.
Who helped? Maybe it was, that was the action when I fell out of bed.
It wasn't like relative or ghost of.
No, I don't know any.
Just unknown.
Unknown.
Well.
Yeah.
Thank you, Diane.
Thanks for having me.
That was a very in-depth story on the one.
True. Yeah. It's a true story.
It's not like confessional. She ain't lying.
Nope. This is a true story.
And we'll think of another one to go. But anyways, go shaka. It's nighttime.
Love you guys.
Bye now. Thanks for watching. And stream. You betcha.
Boom.